We just got another one. The Miami Hurricanes have added their second transfer portal commitment of the day. This one's an experienced and well-rounded tight end. From the 504 to the 305. Alex Bauman. Welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's already been a busy Saturday and a busy weekend. I am Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first or your second listen of the day. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. 7 members now of the Miami Hurricanes transfer portal class so far. We'll talk about who Miami has and how they're going for quality over quantity so far, but there still are needs that need to be filled here. Let's talk about how tight end Alex Bauman, the newest addition, how he's going to fit, what role he's going to play in Miami's offense. And folks, this is a good get for the Hurricanes. We've heard positive buzz about Bauman, former Tulane tight end. Heard a lot of positive buzz about him for the past couple of weeks. Takes his visit over the weekend after the dead period ends, and Miami ends up locking this one up. So mentioned he played at Tulane. He's got 1 season of eligibility remaining, and we'll talk about why I kind of like the mix now with the different age groups that Miami has in the tight end room. Bauman, he fits the physical profile, that's for sure. 6'5", 245 pounds. He's an excellent inline tight end, very good blocker, but he can also catch. He's also a weapon in the passing game, especially when it comes to the red zone. Although I think he's got a career long of 39 yards, so he's had a couple of long reception as well. So as far as the other teams that were in the mix for him, the final decision for Bauman came down to Miami over the Indiana Hoosiers. So even though the Hoosiers landed Fernando Mendoza, but Bauman would rather be a Miami Hurricane. And of course, we're still kind of yet to determine who the Hurricanes starting quarterback is going to be next year, or who for sure is going to be in the room to compete for the job. And Miami, of course, is in for some big fish still at the receiver position, including Zachariah Branch from USC, who just visited over the weekend. And Bauman is going to help in that passing game. So he's got 13 career touchdown receptions. Now, 12 of those came over the past 2 seasons, had 1 touchdown reception as a freshman, 5 touchdowns as a sophomore, 7 touchdowns this past season as a junior. So his best year was this past year. 20 catches for 212 yards this past season with Tulane. Played in 38 games so far in his career in 3 years. That's a lot of games. 38 games so far, 1,553 career snaps. He's averaged 18 yards per catch over the past 2 years. So I mentioned he's not only a red zone target. Bauman can make some plays as well and can extend some plays, yards after catch, all that good stuff. And here's another stat that I like about Bauman. A shout out to my guy, Marcus Benjamin at Canes County on Rivals, for pointing this out, because I hadn't seen this stat anywhere else. He's only been credited with 8 drops over the past 3 seasons. So he's sure-handed, right? I mean, you need to connect with Bauman on an important third down, or maybe a third down in the red zone. You need a touchdown. He's sure-handed. He's only had an average of like 2.6 drops per season to this point in his career. You like that. And, I talked about the experience, and I think in this case, it's good that Miami has just landed a tight end who's only got 1 year of eligibility remaining, because you needed to add a little bit of wisdom and experience into that tight end room, because the rest of Miami's tight end room is very young. Remember, Miami lost some important either upperclassmen or soon-to-be upperclassmen. Elijah Arroyo, who had a splendid final season at the U, he's off to the National Football League. Cam McCormick, who's been really important for Miami the past couple of seasons. Great story, 9 years of college eligibility. He finally ran out of eligibility. And McCormick this past year, not only has he been a really good blocker, inline blocker throughout his career at tight end, but also had some clutch catches this year. So Miami needs to replace that production. And, we're all very sad that Riley Williams has left. He wants to play closer to home in the Pacific Northwest. I've seen some projections for him maybe landing at Oregon State. But, I could see Alex Bauman as being very much a Riley Williams type, because Williams had that big time size, 250 plus, about 6'5". So he and Bauman are of a similar stature. And Williams, really well rounded because he can catch some passes. Like, he's not as, quick and dynamic of a downfield threat as Elijah Arroyo was. But Riley Williams is a capable receiver, very good blocker. That's the role I believe Alex Bauman is going to fill here. And Miami also has, in addition to Bauman now coming in, and Miami really needed that, a senior leader in the tight end room. You've got Jackson Carver, who's going to be in his third season. He's not been much of a factor on the field so far, so I would love to see Jackson Carver have kind of a breakout year and get more usage this year and earn that. Elijah Lofton. Now that's the headline maker in the tight end room. Elijah Lofton, he's weapon X, because you can line that guy up in multiple different spots on the offense, including running back, fullback, H-back, receiver, whatever. Elijah Lofton, we expect he's going to be a stud, but he's very young. He's just entering his second year at Miami. That's why I think it's so important to add an experienced guy like Bauman to be a leader in that room. And Miami also has two excellent true freshmen who are coming in, but of course, young players, they're going to need seasoning, and they're going to need to look at, mentors in that room, like an Alex Bauman, to help them get better. Luka Gilbert coming in as a true freshman. That dude is gigantic. He's going to be a great blocker who can also catch. He's going to be like having an extra offensive tackle on the field. And Brock Schott, who's going to be, I think, a dynamic receiving tight end at Miami. So really, really important to get a guy like Alex Bauman. Now you have that nice mix with, Jackson Carver heading into his third year as a redshirt sophomore, Elijah Lofton heading into just his second year as a true sophomore, a couple of true freshmen coming in, and you've got the senior. I think that was really important to add kind of an elder statesman anchor into that room. And when we come back, I want to talk about the situation catching passes, because when we, talk about the co-receiving responsibilities that Miami's wide receiver room is going to have, along with the tight end room, you're having to replace a lot of production there with the guys that Miami lost. And hopefully Bauman, who had his best overall season this past year, continues that and takes that to another level at Miami. But you're talking about replacing a lot of production last year after losing guys like Arroyo, losing Xavier Restrepo, losing Jacoby George, losing Sam Brown, losing Isaiah Horton to the transfer portal. Let's talk about who, including Bauman, needs to step up next year as receiving threats. You want to keep it locked right here. Miami gets a new player, Locked On Canes. We love to break it down. We're not done yet on the Locked On Podcast Network. Folks, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to finish out the regular season strong with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because you can close out that regular season with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team's going to score. It truly is thrilling, because not only can you bet on who's going to win the game, FanDuel also has prop bets for stuff like which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're also proudly brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about, or maybe you were paying for them twice? That's definitely happened to me. I've had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Brings everything together right in one place, whether it's your subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is that subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore. I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my family's future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So I love what Miami's done today. And of course, there has been so far in the transfer portal a big focus on the defensive side of the football. I think there will continue to be. But Miami had a void to fill at the center position with Zach Carpenter being a one and done here. And Miami got that earlier today, adding TCU center James Brockermeyer, who, by the way, only allowed one sack last year, started all 12 games for Tulane, graded out very well, especially as a pass blocker, 80.2% grade for Pro Football Focus in pass protection, a leader. So I think he's going to fit right in on a very good offensive line. And I think Alex Bauman, who is someone Miami's been targeting for quite some time at the tight end position, is going to really fill an important role. Because, again, you've lost a lot of experience, a handful of experienced tight ends, whether it be Riley Williams to the transfer portal, Elijah Arroyo to the NFL, Cam McCormick. I would imagine he's going to try to go pro as well. We wish him the best of luck in everything he's up to now. But Miami needed to add experience and important players at those positions. And I like what we're cooking at tight end. It's going to be a young room overall. Sans Bauman, it's going to be a very young room. But with the Bauman combination, Elijah Lofton, Schott, and Gilbert coming in, the future's really, really bright. We just, we need to figure out who's the quarterback going to be at Miami this coming season. But I can tell you, whoever that quarterback is going to be, whether it's Emory Williams, Judd Anderson, Luke Nickel, or a transfer to be named later, you're going to have the cleanest jersey in the country because Miami's offensive line, in addition to the blocking you're going to get from the tight end position, and Miami's running backs can pass block as well. Mark Fletcher excels at that. Jordan Lyle really showed some good stuff in that department as a true freshman. So whichever quarterback ends up taking the starts for Miami next year, you are going to be very well protected, and you're going to have a lot of time to throw the football. And yeah, whoever the quarterback is, you look at who the top playmakers are going to be in the receiver and the tight end rooms. And we can include running backs in that as well. Because, we want to see Miami's running backs heavily involved in the passing game. Getting Jordan Lyle the football in space. This is a guy who scored a 91-yard touchdown this past season. Get him in space, he can make things happen. Mark Fletcher is a very capable receiver. I think Gerard Pringle and Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, who's very fast, if he gets more playing time this year. But then you look at, so Bauman is likely going to get, he's going to be a reliable target, I think, in the red zone at 6'5", 245. And yeah, Miami has lost a ton of receiver production, like we talked about. Restrepo, George, Brown, Horton are all out of the program next year. So, guys we expect to really step up. Big opportunity coming up for JoJo Trader. JoJo had a couple of big catches, including that 40-yard touchdown grab from Cam Ward in the Pop-Tart Bowl. We all know Trader's pedigree, being either a 5-star or a 4-star prospect, depending on which subscription or which recruiting services you subscribe to, but a 4-star, borderline 5-star coming out of high school. And it looks to me like Trader is really ready not only to take on a bigger workload next year, but ready to be one of the more productive receivers in the ACC. I love what he showed in the bowl game and at times this year. CJ Daniels is an experienced receiver, super senior that Miami brought in through the transfer portal. Was at LSU and at Liberty prior to that. CJ, that's going to be someone who's probably going to start this coming season. JoJo Trader probably will as well. I mentioned Elijah Lofton at tight end. He's going to be one of Miami's top receiving threats. You would imagine guys like Trader, Daniels, Lofton, and Bauman are going to be some of the most used in the passing game next year. And I also hope we see big steps forward for players like Ray Joseph, who should theoretically get a lot more opportunities, maybe depending on who Miami might still add in the transfer portal. But I think Ray's going to get an opportunity to maybe be the starter at the slot position, maybe. Nykar, who should be ready to take a step up in his second year. Chance Robinson, the same thing. And Miami's got talented true freshman receivers coming in as well. True freshmen, you don't always know what you're going to get year one. But Malachi Toney seems to be ready to play multiple positions year one. He's so talented, what he's done at American Heritage. Joshua Moore, who's a big target, should be ready to start his career with the bang, and Dalen Upshaw. So you got a lot of young receivers, a lot of unproven talent, outside of a couple of exceptions like CJ Daniels and now like Bauman. But Miami should have a hungry receiving room. And then you have to wonder, are we going to get some good news maybe from Zachariah Branch coming up? Miami is still in the mix for some receiver from Texas A&M, Miami as well could be in the mix for. The Miami Hurricanes now have 7 transfers landed. We'll go in order of their commitments. Hurricanes just landed Alex Bauman, who's a 3-star rated transfer portal prospect, an 87 grade at tight end. Earlier today, Miami landed James Brockermeyer, the TCU center, who's a high 3-star rated transfer prospect at an 86%. Hurricanes have landed at cornerback, 4-star transfer prospect, grades out at a 90%. Charles Brantley, Zachariah Poyser, safety out of Jacksonville State. He's another 4-star transfer addition, grades out at 90%. David Blay, defensive tackle from Louisiana Tech, grades out at 92% as a 4-star transfer. 4-star corner Emmanuel Carnley from Arizona, grades out at 90%. And another 90%er, the aforementioned CJ Daniels at wide receiver. So the Hurricanes have a lot of quality there. I think the highest average of players who have been brought in so far in the transfer portal, not that big of a class, at least not yet, with 7 players. If you compare, I think Florida State has like over 20 guys landed so far. But, you know how Mike Norvell likes to work the portal. Plus, when you come off a 2-10 season, you need to change out a lot of pieces on your roster. So welcome to you, Alex Bauman. Welcome to you, James Brockermeyer. And guys, make sure if you enjoy the content here on Locked On Canes, you smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. And yet we're going to be looking closely for the next couple of days because Miami is trying to land a defensive coordinator. Maybe something could happen this coming week. Miami still has irons in the fire for other transfer players. We're looking to see what may or may not happen with Zachariah Branch, the receiver, and Zion Branch, the safety from USC, who visited over the weekend. And for those who know, for those who are longtime everydayers of Locked On Canes, I'm going to give you some very good news, okay? From Sunday afternoon until Tuesday night, I'm going to be on vacation. We're taking a quick trip to Disney World for a few days because my son doesn't start school again till Wednesday. So we're going to take in some Disney. And you guys know what happens. You guys know what happens when Dono goes on vacation. Miami is going to land some people. Like I would imagine with me being on vacation for, 2.5 days, I'm going to try to do an episode Sunday morning before I leave. But then, Sunday afternoon through Tuesday night, I'm going to be out of Dodge. That means we're very likely, before I come back from my trip, we're very likely to have a new defensive coordinator, probably a new starting quarterback, probably a couple of other different transfer players Miami will land. So you know what happens. It always happens when I go on vacation. So let's get ready for that. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. Make sure you check out the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating, and make sure you check out the Locked On Canes Insiders Chat. Try it free for 14 days. I include the link in the show description below. We will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.